Hi, I'm Rachel Abbasi. Welcome to the Recovery Daily podcast. As always, thanks for spending time with me. Hey, happy Monday. I am going to talk to you today about the first chapter of the Body Keeps the Score book. Um, I feel like maybe it would be a nice series for me to just like touch on it throughout the month. There's really so much in this book that I'm afraid to try to just do like one episode to cover it. My opinions about it and what I got from it and how I apply it to my experience and my recovery. There's just too much. So I wanted to today touch on some of the lessons that I got from just chapter one. Hopefully that's not too much, and maybe I won't do it for the whole book, but I've gotten through the first four chapters, and I'm gonna be honest, like it's a great book, and I'm learning so much from it. But I have a hard time like listening all the way through to a like self-help book. So I tried to go back and start listening to A Tale of Two Cities again. This is my second attempt. But the narrator like has such a strong accent and is so like dramatic and really pulling in like the 1700s like uh British accent kind of thing that I really am having a hard time following it. I've got the gist of what's going on, but I'm really not getting, I think, from the book what I should be. It might be a book that really needs to be read, read with your eyeballs, and I can't do that. So I'm going to give up again. I'm calling it On a Tale of Two Cities, but I did try twice. And I've heard it's a really good book, but I can't do it. So, what I have now started to listen to is The Widow by John Grisham. And so I love a good murder. And I talked about that last week. So, and I don't know if somebody gets murdered in this book, but it's definitely eerie. And so we'll see what happens. So I'm listening to The Body Keeps the Score and The Widow back and forth depending on my mood. Um, so, what I wanted to share about first before I talk about the book are my recent crafts. So, those of you who are longtime listeners know that I have found my purpose and a lot of joy in doing crafts. And so, last Friday, I was, excuse me, I was sharing with you that I'm painting this canvas behind me. So it's all prepared to be painted now. And with a big, gigantic canvas like this, I like to procrastinate and stare at it. So instead of painting the canvas, and I'm going to do it after I record, that's my promise to myself. But what I did instead was I had these pictures that I bought for my old house, and they were pink and red like designs. So I don't have any red in my new lake house. So what I decided to do is like have like a coloring experience. So I'm painting over the red with a light blue, and then I'm gonna tie in some other colors to have it match my bedroom. And it's actually gonna go right up here on this wall. And I'm gonna make it look like a flower. So I'm gonna actually paint leaves and stuff behind it. That's the plan. So I'm kind of excited about that. There's two of them. So that's what they look like so far, if you are able to look at the video. And then the other project that I'm working on, you know how a couple years ago I was like, I have to figure out how to upcycle a pill bottle. Well, I have, and so what I started doing was painting landscapes on pill bottles. And it's challenging. I like painting things really tiny, hence the procrastination on this big ass canvas behind me. But it's a lot of detail and a lot of time for something that I'm not getting a lot of like interested people in in my pill bottle landscapes. My brother's very supportive. My family's very supportive, but and maybe I just haven't given it enough chance. I need to put my glasses on because I'm a little too triggered with my glasses off. So what I'm gonna try now is I have prepared another pill bottle. And what I've done is painted over the bottom part of the pill bottle with gesso, I think is what it's called. I don't think it's gesso. I think it's gesso. And the lid. And so what I'm going to paint this time is wildflowers. So I bought a bunch of like uh greeting card, like blank greeting cards with wildflowers painted on them. And I'm going to replicate that wildflower on the pill bottle. And then I'm going to put inside the pill bottle um, a packet of wildflowers. And that's the plan. So I don't know. I'm all about constantly looking for new ideas. And I got nothing but time on my hands. So those are my crafts for this week. Not to mention, hold on, I'm gonna show it to you. It's right over here. It is, I'm coming back. It is my first embroidery. So, also flowers, coincidentally. So, I'm working on that. This is what I do before I go to bed at night. It's very soothing. And then I'm finishing up a crochet blanket. You know, when I say it out loud, I'm doing a lot. I'm doing a lot. My psychiatrist wouldn't be happy with that. So I might need to back off of a couple things. So we'll see. I'll work on that. See, that's why it's good for me to share here. So, okay. So down to the topic here. Chapter 1 of The Body Keeps the Score. So this is what I got from the chapter. And I'll try to articulate it the best that I can. Like, trauma is something that once it's born in your body, it continues to live in there. So and what we call it is PTSD. And the book was talking about putting, and I don't know if this was exactly in chapter 1 or if it's in one of the later chapters 2 through 4, but they're talking about how these traumatic memories become frozen in time. And we as human beings go back and look at this trauma through almost not intentionally, almost not purposefully. It comes out of us because it doesn't have anywhere to go. And so it comes out of us through flashbacks, which is something that I do not experience, but is very much correlated with veterans usually. And that's what the book was talking about. Uh, the trauma comes back through nightmares, it comes back through anger, and it comes back through emotional numbing. And I think that one more applies to me through like drinking, right? So, um, trauma, it says, reshapes the brain. Like our brains look different after experiencing trauma. That was probably one of the most amazing things that I listened to. And trauma like reshape sorry, I keep saying like it reshapes the way that our brains interpret safety and danger. So, it's like our nervous system is stuck in survival mode. Um, and what he talks about, or at least what I heard, was how trauma doesn't fade over time and that PTSD is like a body condition and it's not a mindset. It's not, there's lots of times, and I'm guilty of this, where I will run across somebody who has been through something very traumatic in their lives. And maybe I don't know what that traumatic thing is because they don't want to talk about it. Fine. But I'm able to see that trauma in the way that they behave. Um, Either they shut down, and you know what I'm talking about. There's people who, when they live through something later in life that resurrects that trauma, they shut down. Either they just stop moving, they stop reacting, or they run, or they hide, or they're like, I got to get out of here, I've seen people that do that. And this chapter and the following chapters talk a lot about why that is. And um, I've been really focused lately on my nervous system regulation because I've been experiencing, I think my stress has gone up. I think my anxiety symptoms have heightened. And instead of increasing my dosage of my anxiety medication, what I've been trying to do very actively and very purposefully talk about it. At least not ignore it, which is what I've done in the past. At least like when I feel myself having these symptoms, and mine looks a lot like right now heart palpitations, meaning it feels like my heart is off beat. It like speeds up or it skips a beat or something like that. That's what it feels like. And if it keeps happening, it makes me feel a little dizzy. It makes me feel like, oh, I gotta sit down. What I try to do is just stop everything and focus on my physical health, my mental health, my emotional health, and see if I can bring myself back down to feeling my normal, feeling my all of our normals are different, but feeling my normal. And I think that everybody's normal is different. My normal today is very different than my normal was before my stroke. And my normal before my stroke was very different than it was before sobriety. Um, I feel that when I start having these heart palpitations, it's associated with something, and I don't necessarily know what it is. Um, I wish I did, but throughout my life, I feel like that anxiety has really been, I've had a hard time connecting it directly to something because it feels like it happens afterward. Like, I've explained a lot that in stroke recovery, um, my vestibular disorder tends to show itself after I have triggered it. So if I ride in the car with my eyes open, I won't necessarily feel terrible while I'm doing it. But by the time we get home, if we're on our way home from church, for example, I went to church on Sunday, yay me. And when I'm coming home, if I keep my eyes open while my husband is driving me home, then I feel okay. But once I get here, which is about a 5-minute drive, I feel terrible. I feel nauseous. I feel dizzy. I feel the drop syndrome, drop attack thing happen. So the same thing I feel like happens with anxiety, that when I'm in a situation where I'm afraid, I won't necessarily show those symptoms of fear until afterwards because I feel like that person who, when when you're in the situation, like you can lift up a car, but afterwards you feel exhausted. That's what I feel like. I feel like when I am in a situation, I'm going to do whatever the hell I have to do to get through it. But once I'm through it, my mind, my anxiety, my body hasn't learned that the danger is no longer present. It stays there. And that is what I'm hearing the book talk to me about trauma. Um, where does your body still react to something as if it's still there? Like for me, it's my heart palpitation. For me, I tend to fold myself in half because I'm protecting myself. Um, so think about like when you're in a situation and you're feeling that, or after a situation, take some time to think about like where do you hold on to that in your body? Um, do you, in the same way, before a situation where you feel like something bad's about to happen, where do you hold on to that? For me, it's the same. It's the heart palpitations, and it's right here in my sternum. There's like this thing right there that, like, my gut, I think that's where my gut is. And when I'm either feeling in danger or I feel like the danger hasn't passed when it has, I feel it right there in my gut. And a lot of times I also get really, really tired. And I've always thought that that was kind of interesting because that might be a little bit of that body shutdown thing that happens. Um, later, uh, not to spoil it, but later in chapter 4, I think it is, the author talks about a woman who was in a car accident with her husband, and it was really scary, and I think it was a car accident. And years later, like 12 years later, they they go through something else, and the woman just shuts down. She just, oh, I know what it was. The woman had been through trauma early in her life. I just made the other stuff up. I'm kidding. The woman had gone through trauma early in her life. And then she and her husband were in a car accident and they were trapped. And the husband, they were able to get him out. And when they were cutting the woman out, she sat there, just completely did not, unresponsive. And it turns out that that trauma, that response she had to that fear, what was going on, is the is how she responded to the trauma earlier in her life. She shut down. So what he said, which I thought was fascinating, is that she literally mentally, I don't know if it's literal because it's not physical, but she removed herself from the situation. So she was in that car accident, and in order to save herself, she mentally removed herself from the situation. I thought that was fascinating to me that somebody's body is able to do that. Um, so what I'm getting from the book so far is that I am not broken. My nervous system is not broken. My nervous system is used to reacting a certain way. My nervous system is loyal to me, and it is attempting to save me from danger. Um, what's difficult is trying to figure out what the danger is that my body is sensing, if that makes sense. So I think it's really fascinating. I am excited to keep going through the book, and I think this is really helpful to actually take little bits of it and talk about it. So that's what I've got for you today. And thanks for joining me. And I will see you next time with me.